welcome to the Craft House Magic podcast. My name's Ellie and I'm coming to you from Norwich in Norfolk, and today is the 7th of September. It's still lovely and sunny, which is good. We've got a little bit of summer left. Thanks so much for joining me if you've watched before, and if you're new to the podcast, welcome. So today I've got lots of lovely things to talk about. So I've got knitting, some dressmaking, some cross stitch, some embroidery, some dyeing, the usual blast from the past, some confessions. I've got a couple of questions on the Ask Me Anything. We're also going to talk about the prize winners for the summer sock along, which came to an end at the end of August. So I think that's all on my list of things, so I better get started. So you can find me on the social medias, mainly Instagram and Ravelry as Craft House Magic. I have a website called crafthousemagicco.uk, and you can find links to all the social medias and also my Etsy shop, which is Craft House Magic as well. So you may have noticed that I've got a new logo. So I decided that the old one was a little bit dated. It had an acrylic yarn bowl that I'd crocheted on the front, and I just thought it'd be nice to have something that's a little bit more up to date with a little bit of embroidery in there as well. So I've tried to incorporate sort of sewing and knitting and embroidery all into one logo, so I hope you like it. I really want to say sorry for the little error that occurred on the last video. I didn't realise until it had been up for ages. So I know Viv noticed it and messaged me, so thank you ever so much, Viv. But there was a little bit of audio that was from the beginning of the podcast on near the end, which was really annoying. I'm really sorry. Something to do with my software that I was editing with, I think. I've no idea how I could have done that if I'd have done it myself anyway, so I think it was just a blip with the software. So sorry about that, guys. So next week is our Podiversary. I cannot believe it's been a whole year. It's been crazy. So I didn't even think that I'd go past a few episodes, to be honest, but it's been so much fun. Thank you so much for watching and supporting the podcast. It's been lovely. So what I'm going to do is do a little giveaway on Instagram. So if you go over to Instagram and follow me as Craft House Magic, I'll be posting a post next week and show you what the prizes will be. So I haven't quite decided yet, but it'll incorporate one of my handmade bags and some other little goodies, so keep an eye out for that. So as we're coming to the end of, well, we've come to the end of the summer sock along, I've decided that we should have a new knit along. So I've decided to call it a happy along, because it's always good to make yourself happy with some lovely crafty goodness. So I've decided that what could be included is basically anything that makes you happy or others happy. So that sort of incorporates Christmas into it, so you're making someone else happy by making them a Christmas gift or any other festival that you sort of celebrate. I wanted to incorporate everybody that believes in different religions rather than just sticking to Christianity, really. So I hope you all like that. We've got a couple of prizes so far. So what I'm going to do is that this knit along is going to go over a few months, but each month I'll have a couple of prizes that are given to the people who have posted for that month. So it's going to start literally as soon as I stop this podcast. I'll set the thread up on the Ravelry group, and if you'd like to post your discussions in the discussion thread, and then when you've got a finished object, if you pop it in the finished objects thread, I can then pick up prizes out of the people who've posted in the finished objects thread. So there are going to be 2 prizes for the end of September, and that'll be a lovely Christmas bag made by Lou Lee, or Lee of Lou Lee. She's very, very kindly donated one of her amazing bags. She's a beautiful bag maker. So that'll be at the end of September. She hasn't actually got them in her shop yet, but I'm sure they're going to be fantastic. We've also got a sock pattern that wonderful Larissa has donated from the Green Mountain Spinnery. Now, she also gifted me this pattern as well. It's fabulous. It's called the Janice Pebble Sock, and I shall pop a picture here. So you'll be in with a chance of winning one of those patterns too. So we've still got the doodle along that's going, and I'm still working on my doodler, and there's lots of other people that have well into their doodler shawls. Absolutely beautiful, and such an easy pattern to keep on going with. It's amazing. there are a couple of finished objects already, so if you pop over to the finished objects group, you'll be able to see what those look like. Lovely. So I better get on to the knitting section. So first of all, I'm going to talk about finished objects. So the first thing that I have to show you that's finished is my gingerbread socks. These are so pretty. This yarn was dyed by Kelly Lay, who's the designer behind Lay Family Yarns. I keep wanting to say Kelly. And she dyed up this beautiful sort of micro striped yarn in the theme of gingerbread to go with a bag that we sold as a set. And she also put a little mini in there that was also lovely and sparkly, so it's like got a golden stellina in there. And I've got to knit some socks out of mine, so I just thought I'm going to have to do plain socks just to make the most of this lovely yarn. Really pretty. So those are all finished and ready for my Christmas. So I'm going to keep these for myself because I'm very selfish. I'll have to do lots of Christmas gifting to make up for it. So that was just my sort of plain vanilla pattern that I always stick to with a 2x2 rib, and I've just done a slip stitch heel just there, standard sort of wedge toe, and there we are. So that's one pair finished. I also finished my socks that was I was doing as a test knit and I can't speak today. These were a test knit for lovely Naomi, and the pattern is called Spellbound Socks. So I think that it's kind of in the theme of Harry Potter, I assume, Naomi, because I know you really like Harry Potter, and some of your other patterns are themed with Harry Potter as well. And it's a lovely textured stitch. So I did quite a shorty sock this time, and the pattern comes with a 1x1 rib, but I did a twisted rib because I've fallen in love with this twisted rib ever since I did the wildflower honey socks the other week by the lovely Ruth. So I did that, and these are the heels that come with Naomi's pattern, and I thought it was really cute just to have a lovely pink pop there as it brings out one of the pinks in the sock yarn. And this is just the reason why I've got a stripe there. It's just the way the heel's constructed, so I won't give you any too much detail. I didn't actually do the textured stitch on the top of the foot just because I wanted to see what the yarn looked like without a textured stitch as well, so that was quite cool. And then I popped pink contrast toes as well. So the yarn you're asking, This yarn is called Blue Raspberry, and it's dyed by Mothy and the Squid, which is an Etsy shop. I'd really recommend this. It's a lovely squishy yarn. And then I complemented it with a yarn from Rainbow Cloud, and that's Cassie who dyes that yarn. She's also an Etsy shop as well. So that's Rainbow Cloud. And Cassie's yarn is also very, very squishy. I would definitely recommend those. So I'm really pleased with those socks. I haven't actually blocked them yet. I've just stuck them on the sock blockers. But I think these are going to be for me too because I love them. So Naomi's pattern is now available on Ravelry if anybody's interested in purchasing it. But it's available now. It was available the 1st of September, so you can get it. So I've also got another finished object, and this is a little bit of a cheat really because I didn't actually knit them. They were knitted by my mother-in-law Liz. So Adam's mum Liz did a test knit for me for the To Love and to Cherish socks that I designed, which is now a free pattern on Ravelry. Now this is what she came up with. So she'd only finished one sock by the time I actually released the pattern, but she's got round to finishing them now. And you can see that there's a lace pattern of the infinity symbol. It's very cheesy. Forever. So that I designed this pattern when we were getting married, and I thought it was got to be as cheesy as possible. Lovely. So it's a 2x2 rib lace pattern, and then there's a slightly modified slip stitch heel there, and a wedge toe, but it is a free pattern if you want to get it on Ravelry. Now this yarn, I keep squishing it because it's so lovely and soft. So this yarn is by Peggy May Yarns, and it was her Philosopher's Stone colourway that was a surprise, and oh my goodness, look how lovely it is. I absolutely love how this yarn has sort of pooled and formed these sort of spirals. Absolutely gorgeous. Lovely grey and reds. And this yarn I ordered on their luxury base, and it certainly is luxury. Squishy, squishy, squish. I think, off the top of my head, it's a cashmere merino nylon mix. I'm pretty sure it is. If not, I'll put a message up on the screen. But that come out lovely. Really love those. So that's my cheat finished object. But I had to show you because they were so lovely and squishy. I'll take one off the blocker. Oh, so squishy. Oh dear. Enough squishing of yarn, at least for another 10 minutes. So we've had 3 finished objects. Now I better get on to the works in progress. I've been very good and not casted on loads of things. I want to get some things off the needles so I don't have languishing whips for ages and ages, which really makes me cross. So, my doodler. So I've got to get my wool untangled a little bit. It's the thing. That's the trouble with shawls. So I've picked up stitches around the wavy edge, which you're not going to be able to see very well because the cable's a little bit short. And this is my 3rd colour, my C colour. I can't remember what the colourway is called, but this is a Life in the Long Grass. These 2 are Life in the Long Grass, and this aubergine deep sort of red colour is a Looking Glass Fibre Arts design. I have talked about the colourways before, and they are on my Ravelry page, so you can check them out if you're interested. So this is coming up really lovely. There are speckles of like red and orange in there. Really pretty. Now you have to pick up stitches. This is going to be difficult to show. Right around the bottom wavy edge, which I thought, oh no, it's going to take me ages. But actually, it wasn't so bad. So if you're knitting it, don't worry, it's fine. And also, they're short rows, so it's much less overwhelming because there are actually about 500 stitches on the needles now. But it's actually going quite quickly, so it's okay. I've just got onto wedge 2 of the section 3, and you can see where the eyelets are. And I think there's 4 wedges. You don't have to do wedge 4, it says. So I'm getting there. I'm getting there quickly. Might even finish by next episode, you never know. What I have actually done is I've done a little stripe of this pale blue in between where the eyelets are, because I thought that would go really nicely. And I think on every little wedge that there is, I'm going to put that little stripe. I'm not quite sure if you can really see it on the camera. I think when it's all knitted up, you'll be able to see it a little bit better. So that's a little bit rubbish, trying to show you a wavy picture. Oh dear. I'm going to have to put it on a longer cable so you can see it a little bit better next time. So I'm really enjoying the doodler. And actually, this pattern, even though that it can be quite a big shawl, it keeps you interested because there's lots of little bits of sections to break it up a little bit. So I would actually knit this again, I think, with some different colours. It might be quite interesting. And it can have such different effects if you've got darker and light colours in different places. And it's so lovely seeing everyone's different versions on the Ravelry group. So I'm looking forward to seeing all those finished. So just a reminder for the doodle knit along, we've got 2 prizes at the moment for the doodle knit along. So what there is there's a lovely bag by Deb from Fondant Fibre, which I showed you. It's got little birds on it, which I showed you in another episode. And also what I'm going to do is, and the second winner, they can choose one of Stephen West's patterns and I will gift it to them. So I thought that would be lovely to give them another challenge. So that's the 2 prizes for the doodler cal. Right, so next on the needles. I haven't actually done much of this since I put it on the Instagram post, so if you have seen this before, I'm afraid I haven't done much more, but it is beautiful and I can't wait to get back onto it. So these socks are the Teasel socks by Teresa Shingler, and Teresa kindly gifted me this beautiful, beautiful yarn. It's such a lovely sort of muted pinks and greens in there, so lovely. So I've started on the cuff, and reading the pattern is so clever, but really easy to follow at the same time. So I definitely recommend this so far. So I'll show you Teresa's label. So she's got an Etsy shop but you can also buy her patterns off Ravelry as well. So she's designed the pattern and dyed this yarn, which is absolutely lovely. I will pop a picture of the finished socks and what they're going to look like just on the screen now. So they're going to look fabulous. Lovely. Can I say lovely anymore? So my third work in progress. See, I've been very good. I'm not casting on loads more things. I could. I'm very tempted. And I've got two, well, a jumper and a cardigan that I want to cast on, but I really want, actually, I've got two jumpers and a cardigan that I've got the yarn for, so I really probably should cast those on soon to be very good. But I'm absolutely addicted to my Cozy Memories blanket. So I've done a row this time. So this row is dedicated to my friend Naomi. Naomi sent me a few mini skeins. We did a little swap. I have added a couple of my own in here, which I probably should have stuck to pinks rather than putting red in there, but it's just got to be crazy, hasn't it, if it's a Cozy Memories blanket. So let's see if I can remember what these are called. So this one is called Witch's Brew, and I've just got to check who actually dyed it. Witch's Brew 3 by Felt Fusion, so that's really pretty. I like those colours, lovely. And this one is called Raspberry Cheesecake, and I can't remember who that was by either. This is very disorganised. Ah, Miss Mothballs. So that's a Miss I can't even speak today. That's a Miss Mothballs yarn. That's really pretty. Ooh, lovely. You can't ever get better than cheesecake or sweet flavoured yarns. So this is one of my little minis. This is a fondant fibre, and this is a sparkle base that I knitted a pair of socks out of a little while ago, but I can't remember what the colourway was called, I'm afraid. So this one is a Fine Fish Yarns, and this has got quite a strange name as well. So, Cowboys Ted. Must be a reference to some programme that I don't understand. But that is stunning because there's little speckles of colours that are really lovely, evenly distributed. So lovely. I'm definitely going to order some more Fine Fish yarns. Oh, but wait, I've got a whole jumper's worth of yarn to knit with. So this one is Girls Night Out, and it's by Craftfulness. There we go. Isn't that pretty? And then we've got this one, which is a Cascade Heritage Prints in the Spring Flowers colourway. And this last one is Little French Meadow in the Dobby Sock colourway that I knitted a pair of socks on too. So this red one here and this one here is out of my stash, but those three and those two are from Naomi. So this is why I call it my Naomi row. So now, oh, I can hardly show it on the podcast now. It's a rectangle. I had to stop myself from casting on even more squares and getting on with the rest of my projects. This is why my socks didn't get any more work done on them. Absolutely addictive. So is there a little parcel now? I can start doing the podcast with a blanket on me. How exciting. So that's my works in progress for knitting. What have we got next? Sewing. So for sewing, we've got a little bit of dressmaking this week. So with the magic of technology, here comes Barbara. Here's Barbara in my new top that I've made. You may have noticed that this is the same pattern as I did my second top out of the last episode. Now I picked up this fabric, which is called Buildings, from the same shop as I bought the last fabric from. Fabrics Galore, that's it. So I bought this from Fabrics Galore, and I thought because it's quite a sort of bold print, it needed to be cut out in sort of one piece, the front, to really make the most of how gorgeous this print is. So I thought I'll stick with that same pattern just so that it really makes the most of the fabric. And I'm really pleased I did, because it looks really nice. I love this fabric, and it's such a nice soft drapey fabric. This actually should be in my purchases section, in my confessions, because I actually bought this fabric since the last podcast. So I've used it already, so I've been very good. So as I showed you before on the last podcast, there is a seam up the back, because it's constructed in 2 pieces, and I thought I'm not going to bother matching this fabric at all because of the nature of the print is already, with the little sort of windows being sort of higgledy-piggledy anyway. That's rather a strange statement. So there we go. I just used the same fabric to go around the neck, and I've just used my machine to do a zigzag top stitch on the hems and the sleeves. What I did do with this one is that I included a piece of ribbon across the back of the neck. Because the fabric is so stretchy, I found that it wasn't holding its shape very well, so I just top stitched a piece of ribbon across the back on the inside just to hold it together a bit better, and that really worked well, so I'm really pleased with that. So that pattern was the New Look 6816, and I did the same view as I did for the last top as well, because I thought if I did it in a long sleeve, I thought this would be a bit too much because it's quite a bold print. So there we go. It looks like there's a really cute skirt on this as well. I don't actually wear skirts, but maybe if I made some, that I would. I've got a new little method of keeping my patterns, and I don't know how this is going to work. I bought some little blue folders, and I thought that you could just about see what pattern was on the back. So hopefully that system's going to work, because they look quite cute. I love a little blue folder. Love stationery. So that's my sewing pattern for this week. I'm hopefully going to get some more sewing to do for next week, which I'll talk about a bit more in confessions. Barbara's gone! Sorry, awful sense of humour. Right, so we're going to go on to a bit more sewing, but cross stitch this time. So I was doing this pattern, which I've shown you several times, and I've done a little bit more than I usually do, but it's still not as much as I wanted to do. But next time I'm hopefully going to get loads more done. And you can see that I've done some words either side and this section in the middle. There we go. Which is coming out really lovely. And you may notice that I've made a grime cover. Woo! I've been wanting to do this for ages, but I finally got round to it because there's so much fabric that I have to tuck at the back of the work. It was really getting on my nerves to stitch with it. So now I'll be able to stitch with it much, much easier and hopefully get much, much more done. So I'll leave a link below as to the tutorials that I looked at, but I didn't follow them completely, the tutorials. So what I did is I took the measurements from the tutorials and I slightly adapted them. So you're basically getting a rectangle of fabric, and I used 5.5 inches deep by 32, I have a note, no, 33 inches long. So that takes into account, this is 8 inches square, you do 8 times 4 plus 1, which makes 33 inches. So that's the length of the rectangle, and I did it 5.5 inches deep. I then pressed it in 3/4 of an inch either side, and then I further pressed in 1/4 inch from the very edge of the fabric so that it formed like a tube at either side, if that makes sense, so that the seams were completely enclosed. Because some of the tutorials I followed, they basically just told you to turn 3/4 of an inch and top stitch it down. And that was the end. But I didn't like the fact that there was some raw edges, so what I did was basically fold it over twice. So you've got 1/4 of an inch right under, and then 3/4 of an inch, well, or another 1/2 inch over, so that you have 2 enclosed seams. I then top stitched these down quite close to the edge. I used my stitch in the ditch foot, and moved my needle just to the side, and then followed the edge of the fabric and stitched it really close to the edge of the fabric. You might be able to see there. So I followed the ditch at the edge of the fabric, and then I've just sewn, I can't remember if it was like 1 millimetre if you just adjust your needle so it's just in from the centre of the ditch bit where there's a metal plate. I hope this makes sense. I hope you know what a stitch in the ditch foot is. It just means that there's a piece of metal that goes down in the centre where the needle is, so that you can actually stitch in the ditch really easily, but then you can adjust your needle to one side or the other so that you can use the guide to follow the edge of something and stitch slightly in, but normally you'd be stitching right in that ditch. I hope that makes sense. And then I joined the two pieces, the two ends of the fabric. Oh, I forgot to say actually, I used the elastic that I used for both sides was half of the length of the tube plus 1 inch. So it ended up being 17 inches long, the elastic. So it has to be smaller than the full length of the fabric because you want it to pull in. So I used 17 inches of elastic on each side, and I threaded that through both of the little tubes that I'd created, and then just sewed them down at either end. You have to ruffle it all up to begin with, and then I wanted to sew those two ends together, so I put them wrong sides together to form a French seam. It's because I thought that would end up being neater and last a bit longer. Sewed a 1/4 inch from the edge to join that loop together. Then I cut the seam really skinny and then put the right sides together like you normally would with a French seam, and did another 1/4 inch to really enclose all those seams. Let's see if I can find the edge. So I've got a French seam inside there. I've got some threads there still to cut off. So there we go. I thought that might last a bit longer then. I might make a few more and see how I go, and I might do a tutorial. Well, I hope to do a tutorial on this because I think it's nicer to have your seams enclosed to actually make sure it lasts a bit longer, and you could always throw it in the washing machine then. So that's my stitching plus cross stitch for today. I hope to get lots more done on this for the next time because I'm really enjoying the way it looks, and it's quite nice to, the writing is so much fun to do because it goes so quickly because you're only doing one colour. Great. So we're now on to my sort of free embroidery that I showed you. I don't know if it was the last episode or the episode before. I had a little bit of time to do a bit more stitching on this, but I've decided that just doing the stitching that I intended to do is not going to sort of finish it off enough. So what I've done is written needles, DPN needles. I'm going to do some little heads on these needles. I'm trying to do a little picture as well. So I previously done some little fireworks there. And I know I've written DPN needles, and I know the N stands for needles, but it felt wrong to write DP needles. So I had to write DPN needles. I know that sounds mad, but it's my needle case. I know what it's for. So I used a variegated thread there to do most of the writing. I think I did DPN in different pinks, and then I wrote needles in the variegated thread. So I haven't done loads on that. So this is going to be sort of the cover of it, and it's a little bit creased at the moment, I'm afraid. But I think that it needs some more things sort of on different parts of the little booklet there to finish it off. But I think it'll look alright in the end, just needs a little bit more work. So that's my sort of free embroidery. And I've been doing a little bit of dyeing. So as I told you a little while ago, I did a course on different methods of dyeing techniques. Different methods of dyeing. And I decided to have a go at the ice dyeing that we had a demonstration for. Now this looks a little bit crazy. And this piece is actually folded over, so it's difficult to see. So that's one side. There's the other. There are some parts of this dyeing that I thought, oh, that looks really pretty. So I like just the pale mixtures of colours there. And to be honest, I put all the colours that you can imagine in this. So I thought, well, I'll just see what happens. And then there's another piece that I'd done. So it makes these beautiful sort of random colour mixtures. It's blowing out a little bit, but some places are sort of darker than others. I liked how that bit came out. There we go. So, although this didn't come out exactly how I wanted it to, what I plan to do is try and make some knitting bags for myself and see how the dye copes with washing and things. See, I really like that bit with the blues. It's difficult to, there's a bit of glare of sunshine. There we go. But I really like all the sort of colours mixed together. I'll probably put a little bit less different colours on the next go. There are probably lots of different tutorials online, and I may do some tutorials on this in the future, but I wanted to have a go myself to really feel like I've got my head around it before I start showing anybody else what to do. But it was really fun. You basically just, you soak your fabric in soda ash, squeeze the water out, put it in the bottom of basically a cat litter tray, loads of ice on the top, and then put your powders for your dyes. So it's difficult to know where to put the dyes when you've only done it a couple of times, but I think it's just a case of trial and error and learning how to get the best effect. So these will probably be parts of some knitting bags for me to test out, and then I might be doing some of those for the shop. So that was a bit of fun. Great. So now we're on to Blast from the Past. So I know that Lee from Lou Lee had done some little woven squares, and I thought that reminds me of something I made a little while ago, which is similar to what she'd done. Although she'd put lavender in hers, I'd made a pincushion out of mine. So I'd used some mohair yarn, which is absolutely crazy and fluffy, to make the top of a pincushion. I have actually lined this so that there is more of a substantial sort of place to put the pins. And then I did a different square in some just white wool and put that over one of the same of this square as well. So I thought that came out really nicely. And then you sew one square at an angle so that there's your points, and it's sort of halfway through the square where the point of the other square goes, if that makes sense. So it's difficult to kind of see. So here and here and here and here are the points of the white square, and then we've got here and here and here and here are the points of the blue square. So they're sort of folded into each other, which forms this cute shape. It's just such a fun little pincushion to make. And I popped some different buttons on either side out of my rather extensive button collection. So that was good fun. So I wanted to show you, Lee, if you're watching, well, I made something like that too. Those squares are quite fun to, basically they're a frame with pins around each side. If you watch Lee's podcast, you'll be able to see, because she actually shows you one. And you basically weave the threads to make a woven square, and then you can make things like this with them. I know Lee said that she was going to make a blanket with hers, but she'd made 120 squares and then decided to make something else. 120 squares is quite a lot, so you must have been well practiced, Lee. Right, so that's the Blast from the Past sorted. On to confessions. Actually, really not been too bad this time. I'd actually restrained myself for a little while because I know that Cassia from Rainbow Cloud had a couple of updates, and I'd been like, at least I didn't buy any yarn in September. I'm very proud of myself. Not September, August. It's now September, I'm allowed. So this is the packet. That's Cassia's little logo there, and this is what this yarn was called. So it's called Hello September, and it's in a deluxe base, which is absolutely beautiful. Her other sort of standard base is gorgeous as well, so whichever you end up getting hold of, definitely recommend it. So these are the colours that I'd got hold of. Absolutely gorgeous. I think these two are my favourites, because they've got such a beautiful variegated colour scheme there. I don't think that the camera's doing it quite justice, really. really pretty, but they go really nicely as a little group. So those are my, I have to do this with mini skeins. So those are my little naughty yarn purchase. I may well have ordered other yarn which hasn't arrived yet, but at least it looks like I've been well behaved. Oh dear. It came with the cutest little progress keeper as well. A little mushroom. And she always puts one of these, what do you call them? Well, they're stitch markers anyway, but the ones that look a bit like a safety pin, which are always lovely. So I have to pop those in my little case for stitch markers now. So thank you, Katia, really lovely. And I've also bought some other things. Ooh. So I purchased some stretch fabric. So this is a jersey. I'd gone shopping in Chester with my parents and Adam, and I went off looking for something else. I was buying a gift for somebody, and then I come across a fabric shop, and I disappeared for half an hour. This is what I came out with. I was very restrained. There were so many lovely fabrics in there. So I got this one, and I'd actually seen it before. I don't know how I didn't buy it before, but it's so pretty. I love this sort of fuchsia colour with the greys and whites. I'm not sure what I'm going to make exactly, but it's going to be like a stretch top, like I've been making loads of, because that's what I wear the most of, and I'm trying to replace all my ready-to-wear stuff with handmade things. So this will be a top. And then I also, with my order of the fabric I showed you, I'm pointing towards my dressmaker's dummy, because it's over there. Barbara's over there now. So the fabric I bought for the top that I showed you, the buildings fabric, I bought at the same time as this fabric from Fabrics Galore. Now this is a lovely chambray. I don't know if that's how you say it. It might be sounding a bit posh. Chambray. Oh dear. So it's a lovely sort of lightweight cotton. I'm still sort of learning what they call different materials, because I don't know, I've always found it difficult to sort of remember. So in my head I'm trying to make note of all these different types of fabric that you use for dressmaking and what they're appropriate for. So this is a kind of a lightweight cotton. I wonder if I can try and show you the weight of it by sort of draping it. So it's a little bit sort of drapey. That doesn't really work. Oh dear. So it reminds me of a sort of a lightweight denim chambray. I don't know whether that's a very accurate thing, but you can see the edges remind me of, they're like a bit like how denim goes. It must be a similar weave that they use. So this is a chambray, and it's one of the fabrics that it says on the back for this pattern that I found. So I know Tina from Simply and Stitches had said that she was going to make this dress, and I was like, oh, I need to join in. Well, to start with, I thought, oh, I can't make this because it's not something I usually wear. But I think if I made one that actually fitted me, it'd be fine. So I should tell you what it is. So it's the shirt dress from McCall's, and you can see the number just there. I should read it out, 6696. So I'm going to make this version, which is actually the same version that Tina's made. She's already, well, nearly finished hers. If you go over to her channel, you'll be able to see a little video of her dress sort of almost finished, pinned together. And it looks absolutely gorgeous. So I'm really excited to make that up. I think that'll be lovely. So my problem with sort of any shirts, or at least ready-to-wear shirts, is that they gape in the bust area. But I think it's just because it's not made for my cup size. So I think if I made it the correct size, I'm hoping that it won't gape, and then I'll be able to wear shirts. Woohoo! So I think that's going to be gorgeous. So I thought this is quite a nice safe fabric that you could wear with lots of things. Well, lots of things. You'd wear a dress with like a cardigan basically. But that probably go quite nicely with like a red cardigan or something. So I'm really looking forward to make this up. And Tina said that actually, I didn't even notice this before, but there's different cup size on this pattern. So I'm really excited. Might actually fit without me just doing a bust adjustment. Woohoo! So you can tell how excited I am about that. So that's my hopes and dreams for the next, I'm hopefully get it done this weekend. Oh, so exciting. Right, so that's my confessions. I almost forgot to tell you about my gadget. So this time, now this is the really simple, easy, very cheap thing that I use all the time. Now this is basically one of the tools you can buy for children to play with plasticine. And I bought a packet of these. I wonder if I can find the rest of them. So I don't find the rest of them so useful as this one. So it came with a number of other little plastic tools that you can buy for children to play with plasticine, basically. And I found that there was one of them that had a nice little pokey edge, and I use this to poke out corners when I'm doing like sewing things. So, you know, you can get, I think it's that purple thing you can buy. Well, before I really even knew about the purple thing, I picked this up to basically just for £1 or something with a group of others. So definitely recommend that. If you can see any plasticine tools, have a look, because they were really, really cheap and very, very useful. So I use that practically every time I'm sewing, especially if I'm making pockets for the knit and project bags. Really, really useful. So I hope you can find some too. And we've got a couple more things to do. So I'm going to do my Ask Me Anything section. I've got 2 questions, and then I've got the Summer Sock Along prize draw winners and a little bit of information that I'd found about the Nero needles, the bent ones that I showed you in the last podcast. So, first question on my Ask Me Anything section is from Math Marie. Hi Marie! So, Marie asked that she hears on lots of podcasts that when people have to pick up a parcel, they often have to pay for charges. Now, Marie lives in the middle of the USA, and she asks, if she has an unexpected package, would you expect to have a charge to receive these items? And is this based on the value of the contents or where the parcel came from? Now, I'm not quite sure about what the rules are in the USA, but I know in the UK you have customs forms on the parcels which say the value of the parcel and what it is. So it can either be a gift or something that somebody's purchased, for example. So I know, for example, if I buy yarn from the USA, if it's over a value of £18, you get customs charges. So you get a base value of £8 charge plus a value calculated on how much you've bought in addition to that. So it's quite often like £20 so you can receive these items. But I think it has to say that it's a purchase rather than a gift or something. So I think if you had it marked that it was a gift, then you wouldn't have to pay customs charges. And it does depend on where it comes from. So if I've bought something from the USA, we'll have to pay customs charges. But at the moment, if it's somewhere in the European Union, I have to pay customs charges because we're still part of the European Union at the moment as UK citizens. So as I said, it depends on whether it's marked as a gift or whether it's marked as a purchase, and to how much the value is. So I don't know what the situation is in the USA, but if anybody knows, it'd be really interesting if you could pop a comment in the Ravelry group or down below in the comments section what happens in the USA when you receive a parcel from other parts of the world, and whether it's the same case as it is for the UK in the USA, whether it's marked as a gift or something you've purchased. That's really interesting. So thank you so much for that question, Marie. I know it's not a very good answer for the people in the USA, but hopefully get people together and see what their knowledge is of this sort of issue that we have. So our second question is from Amal, who's Purple Needle on Ravelry. So they're asking about my dress form. Am I pleased with it, and which features should I look for if I'm finding the right one if I was going to purchase another one? You have to make sure that the size of the different areas, like the shoulder, the bust and the hips, go to the size that you are. Because I know they do different sizes. They do a small, medium and large, and certainly in the manufacturer that mine's made by. I'm looking over there, you can't see. I think the trouble is with dress forms, they're never going to be perfect. So you're not going to be able to adjust the bust area separately from the sort of shoulders, not in the ones I've seen anyway. If you find one, that'd be amazing, tell me about it. So what I do is just put a bra over the top, and you could also pad out areas of the hips if you've got slightly larger hips compared to the ratios that the dressmaker's dummy goes to. So the main thing that I'm interested in is basically that you can adjust the hips, bust area and waist, even if it's just all in one go. If you can adjust it, that's brilliant, because if you change slightly and you then have to buy a new dressmaker's dummy, that would be ridiculous. I don't think there was anything else I could really think of that I thought about when I was sort of thinking about getting a dressmaker's dummy, to be honest. Only that you can actually regulate the size, but I think most of them do. And that you buy the right size that fits within your sort of size range. Because I know that they can do really small dressmakers dummies and also children's as well. So as long as you buy the correct one for you, that's fine. That's an absolutely rubbish answer to your question, Amal. I hope that helps you a little bit. But if anybody has any comments on these questions as well, be interesting to see what you've got to say. Now we've got the Summer Sock Along prize winners. So we had entries from between 2 and 78, so number 1 was just me, so I've cut me off. So I can't win the prizes, unfortunately. So I'm going to choose random numbers between 2 and 78. So we've got 4 prizes altogether, and I'll go through them and I'll get my phone to generate a random number. I thought it'd be much more interesting if you guys can actually see me getting the random numbers. So I'm going to see if Siri's going to respond to me now. You can tell I've got an iPhone. Hey Siri, generate a random number between 2 and 78.
Random number between 2 and 78 is
So
26.
26, so I'm going to write that down. 26. I've just looked at who it is up on Ravelry, and it's Baby B, which is Teresa. Congratulations, Teresa. She actually has given us one of the prizes. So it's lucky that I've got the mini skein and stitch marker set for the first winner. So that's going to go to you, Teresa. So congratulations, well done. So that's number 1, or prize number 1. So prize number 2 is going to be a bag made by me. Whoever wins, if they contact me and just give me an idea what they like, and then I'll make them a sock size bag, or they can choose one out of my shop already. So, hey Siri, generate a random number between 2 and 78.
Random number between 2 and 78 is 8.
There we go, number 8. So let's write that down. So this one is the bag made by me, and I shall check on Ravelry who number 8 is. A Trinker on Ravelry. Let's see what your name is. That's Raquel. So congratulations. Tag me and then we can talk about what bag you'd like, what sock size bag you'd like. So the next prize will be this sock collection by Luli. So I'll pop a picture here of Luli's sock pattern collection. And now we need to generate another random number. So, hey Siri, generate a random number between 2 and 78.
Random number between 2 and 78
He's come up
is
with
44.
44. So let's look who number 44 was. So the winner is Shooting Stars, who is another Teresa. So congratulations, Teresa, you're shooting. And then the last of the prizes is the beautiful yarn by Teresa, who won the first of the prizes. And it's a beautiful green yarn with a crescent sock pattern, which is the code for on this lovely card. So let's see who the winner is for this one. So, hey Siri, generate a random number between 2 and 78.
Random number between 2 and 78 is 37.
And that's 37. So let's see who the winner of that one is. Winner is ACE. I think that's how you say it. And oh, it's your first name as well, so AC. I'm really sorry if I've pronounced that incorrectly. So congratulations. Thank you to all the people who submitted finished objects into the finished object thread to try and win prizes. So sorry, no, not everybody won. I'd like everyone to get a prize, but it's just impossible, really. I should like to get in touch with me, and then I'll get those prizes over to you, or for the bag winner, I just need to know what bag you like. Talked about the Nero needles in the last podcast, where they were strange sort of bent plastic needles that I'd not tried before. So my friend Jo had lent me them to have a little go at, because we'd never seen them before. So somebody had commented on the video on the last episode that the West Coast Wools podcast had also mentioned them and given them a little review. So on their episode 31, at about 12 minutes and 40 seconds, they talk about what they thought of the needles. Basically, they're advertised as lighter and faster and more comfortable than sort of other needles. And they discussed of what they thought about them, and because they were plastic, they were a little bit pliable and a little bit bendy and not very sharp, but in some cases they could be useful. So they thought that if you can't use DPNs, they'd be a good alternative, and that they were a kind of hybrid between Magic Loop and DPNs. So it might be worth popping over there and see what they thought if you're interested in those. But I think that's everything for this episode. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope where the point of the other square goes, if that makes sense.